It was just great to see, wasn't it? We were in Williams, his old team, everybody on their feet. A very popular winner.
Yeah, very popular, and I think it's been a long time coming. He had the opportunity to get into a race-winning car. We saw that pole position in Bahrain. Didn't quite happen for him in the race, as we know, but he's come here, you know, just in the fantastic frame of mind that you need to be, getting what he needs to do when he was in qualifying, and then that race, you know, controlled it beautifully, I have to say. One little mistake, little flat spot, struggled maybe for probably a lap or two, then after that, just really dug deep and got that consistency.
Talk us through that last lap, Johnny. Tell us what would have been going through his mind. It was
yes, exactly, yeah. But it was frustrating because actually he should have backed out of it a little bit earlier, Felipe, because he did get in the way, and it would have been really thrilling to see how close he would have been on those final few corners. But to be honest, overtaking him round there, I think, in that final sector is more or less impossible.
He got the help, though, didn't he, from the DRS? You just wonder if Massa hadn't been there, and as you said, it'd been one more lap, then it might have been a different story.
Yeah, that's what I mean. That would have been a different story. But that's racing. The laps sort of were coming down. He ran out of time. But again, you've got to give it credit to the man who controlled it basically from the first lap. Valtteri was just able to do a brilliant first stint, I have to say, to give himself that gap. Arguably, Ferrari, did they keep him out too long, Sebastian? In many regards, mind yourself, they probably did, because I think what they were trying to do was keep him out to get those tyres on, which was 7 laps advantage, and that was something that they were hopefully going to try and use.
Yeah. Lewis Hamilton off the podium for the first time since Malaysia last year. Yes.
Well done, you.
You could just sense the relief and the pleasure that the team got from that, Toto.
Yeah, it was really great because it was such a tense race. We had mega pace on the ultra soft at the beginning, and then you could see when we pitted on the super soft, Kimi was just faster immediately from the get-go, and we knew it's going to be very tight at the end, and this is what happened.
Yeah, but it seems to me your work ethic through this weekend has been very smart, it seems, and I think it's paid off brilliantly today, because everything you did in the free practices has obviously paid dividends today.
Yes. You know, I'm standing here and taking the credit, but I'm taking it for all the guys back at home and here that have sorted out the problem that we had on Friday. We weren't particularly strong on the long runs. We weren't fast enough on a single lap, and we bounced back on the Sunday when it matters. And if I would be Nicky, I would take my hat off to them.
I remember we were having the conversations throughout last year, and we were trying to find any weaknesses in your car, and there's not that many, but occasionally we talked about the starts. He got a flyer today, didn't he, Valtteri? That seems to be an area that the whole team has really improved upon.
Yeah, our starts are pretty good this year, and the system has changed, and then obviously the toe down there is help, so possibly P3 is the best position you want to start in Sochi.
Yeah, Ted, we obviously did a little bit with Valtteri back home in Finland. Tell us a little bit of what the guy's like within the team, because it was very interesting where he had the radio to tell his engineer, don't talk to me, because he just wanted to concentrate on his job.
Well, I'm still a little bit traumatized of the pictures of Ted in the sauna.
We all are.
I'm gonna carry that in my mind for a while. He's just a very calm guy, and you can see that, and I'm very proud of that at the end there was lots of pressure with a 4-time world champion behind him, and the communications on the radio was all cool, and bar one braking, there was no mistake at all in the final laps.
Just tell us, I mean, it took Nico, I think it was 41 races, Nico Rosberg, before he got his first win. Obviously you guys were just getting back into Formula One, so that would put a lot down to that, but just 4 races. Right, in the top team, the Mercedes team, for him to get his first race win under his belt. How do those two differ, Rosberg and Bottas?
They are both very analytical and with a calm approach on things. But I wouldn't want to, you know, put everybody in a box. They are very different personalities. But the balance between Valtteri and Lewis works very well. And that dynamic is part of the success today.
But it's game on, isn't it,
yeah.
for you? You've got 2 guys, you've got 2 race winners now, you've got this battle with Ferrari. You must be so happy that you've got both of these guys now, hopefully on the top of their game.
Yeah, I'm very happy about the result, and we're going to celebrate that, that's for sure, because it's his first victory. But there is also lots of lesson to be learned, and understand how we can progress better and how we can get faster. Need to understand why we couldn't give Lewis the car that he needed today.
Why was that? 30 seconds off his team, that's quite a big gap.
I think that 30 seconds is maybe doesn't reflect the right picture. there was no more to gain for him at the end. We hoped for a strategy, we hoped for a safety car that would have been the only lucky punch to get us back to P3, because Kimi's pace was just mind-blowing fast. And once the balance on the car is not 100% right and you're not able to get the tire in the window, you're lacking pace, and that happened today to him.
Toto, thanks for coming out and talking to us. Go and enjoy the champagne. Now, we're going to hear from Felipe Massa. Rachel's just asked him about that incident with Vettel on the last lap.
Felipe, so unfortunate today when you had that slow puncture. You were running at 6th at the time, came back out in 9th. Would you have finished 6th without it, do you think?
For sure. I had the race completely on my pocket, so I had maybe almost 8 seconds in front of Checo. So, yeah, I had a lot more pace in the car than what I was doing as well. So, yeah, we had the 6th position in the pocket today. Unfortunately, puncture is something that it can happen in our job. Unlucky today, but I was so happy with my race.
Just to talk me through, I mean, Valtteri's obviously got his first ever Formula One win. I know you two teammates for so long. Great day for him.
So happy for him. I think he deserved it, the position he had today for the driver he is. So I think maybe people was not talking about him on the right level he is in terms of drivers. And I said straight away when he signed with Mercedes that he would do a good job, and he's doing. So the 4th race, he had his first victory. Now he's a different driver because he achieved a victory, and I'm so happy for him. Yeah, and we'll see he will achieve a lot more than what he had today.
I just finally ask you just about the end of the race. Obviously, they both came up against you, Valtteri and Sebastian, and had to get past you. Sebastian was on his radio after he went round you and said, really? What was that?
No, he wasn't on his radio, but he never his radio complaining, no? I'm sure. I left completely the inside part for him. I back off before in corner 4. He didn't want to go. So then I saw that he was afraid to dive inside. I was completely on the left. And then I let him by straight away after. So anyway, I am also sure that he was not going to pass Valtteri in the last lap of the race. I'm pretty much sure. Anyway, complaining is he really liked you.
Felipe always tells it as it is. I mean, generous words from him, obviously there. But bearing in mind what happened in the last couple of races and that spin behind the safety car and then the pressure issue that we had in Bahrain, how much did it tell you about his mental fortitude that he was able to bounce back so emphatically?
Well, a lot. I think we've seen it in the past where he's been able to, in a car that hasn't been as competitive as the guys in front, he's been able to sort of keep pace with them. You know, you always would look back and how good he has been with Kimi Raikkonen, for example, and then the battles they've also had together at various other tracks. So Canada's always another one that comes together. But bouncing back after, you're in a big team, that pressure is more mighty than you've ever experienced before. And he's been able to deal with it, dig deep, get the pole position, which is a big thing in Bahrain. The race was a disappointment, and then he bounced back here in a perfect way. And again, you know, he beat Lewis big time today.
He did. Just 10 points between himself and his teammate Lewis Hamilton. The fastest lap, DHL fastest lap, went to Kimi Raikkonen late on with a 1:36.844. When we come back, plenty more reaction from here in Sochi to Valtteri Bottas's first Grand Prix win.
Valtteri, Victor Bottas.
And Valtteri Bottas has got into the lead. What a set!
Anything is possible.
Bottas called them.
Took quite a while.
Dreams coming true today for Valtteri Bottas, and one of the other Finns to have won a Grand Prix. Heikki Kovalainen has tweeted his congratulations, saying it reminded him of the days when Hakkinen and Schumacher went head-to-head, nerves of steel. Well done to Bottas. Hamilton eclipsed today. Let's hear what he had to say, talking to Rachel.
Lewis, it seemed that in the end you just sort of had to settle for 4th today. Is that how it was?
Yeah, well, firstly, a big congratulations to Valtteri. He did an exceptional job all weekend, and yeah, it was just quickest and did a great job. And it's good for the team. For me, yeah, I mean, already from once I got round kind of the first couple of laps, I was just basically stuck where I was. But I mean, I don't know if I would have been able to have made a big difference moving forwards or not, but I think I definitely had the pace to be with the back. But ultimately, positioning was everything.
Can you pinpoint exactly what the problems are you've had this weekend around here?
I think through the race I understood it, yeah.
So that in the race in terms of your driving, or the car we hear was overheating during the race and you had to try and get some cooler air onto it, but actually in terms of you feeling just lacking...
Speed-wise, speed-wise I know where, I think I know where it is, so I'll try and fix it for the next one.
Okay, let's just move it on then. Finally, positive for the team is that Valtteri did win this race. He held on. It was incredibly tense towards the end there for us to watch.
As well, so.
What does it mean, that first win? What did you say to him?
Well, you couldn't hear me. I just said congratulations. You deserve it. Great job. You couldn't hear me though. Your helmet's on.
But it's a good result for Mercedes to keep that win away from Ferrari.
Yeah, no, it's great that we have had great success through here over the years. I just wish that I could have backed him up, for the team in terms of points, but I held on did the best I could with what I had in the end.
Yeah, I think you can see exactly. Hamilton yesterday, I think, was the bit that compromised him. Just look at the left-hand side of the grid.
Thanks very much, Paul. Coming up on the notebook later, how the driver of that car, Carlos Sainz in the Toro Rosso, staged what's arguably the comeback of the day from well down on the grid after a penalty for his antics with Lance Stroll in Bahrain to finish in the points. Indeed, the first time Toro Rosso have scored points here in Russia. We'll also hear about how Lance Stroll, posting his first finish of the season, got lost on his way to Parc Fermé and had to be told where to go, and we'll be rounding out everybody's race as well. But just a quick word as we look at Valtteri Bottas' side of the garage about the esteem in which he is being held in this garage. They talk here about how hard-working Valtteri is, how he's getting better at every race, and how impressed they are with not only his workload, his engineering application, but also his raw speed as well. And we should add to that today his nerve. Heikki Kovalainen summed it up well. Nerves of steel, with Sebastian Vettel bearing down on him. Absolutely top stuff from Valtteri Bottas. And I thought it was, I appreciated Toto Wolff's charming words about me with my top off in Valtteri's sauna at his boys' sauna party. And thanks very much, Toto. The important thing is that my wife doesn't mind the old Sean Connery chest wig, so that's okay. Right, let's get into Ferrari, shall we? And what happened to their day. I spoke to their team boss, Maurizio Arrivabene, directly after the race. And just bear in mind at the beginning of this, he'd spent the whole race on the pit wall. He didn't want to move, and so he needed to go somewhere. Check this out. Maurizio, it was a thrilling finish, wasn't it? Maurizio, quick word in English. I can understand your disappointment, having been locked out the front row, obviously. Where did it get away from you today at the start?
No, they're not disappointed. I was just to go to the toilet. So, tell me.
Sorry. Well, just won't keep you very long. Just where did it lose? Where did it lose you today? At the start, maybe?
A bit at the start, but the car showed up that it was very, very strong, especially in the last part of the race with Sebastian. So it's okay. It's going to be an interesting championship.
Okay, we'll let you go. Thank you.
It really is. I mean, one thing I think it underlined today is that this is going to run and run. This is going all the way to the end, you'd think.
It is. It's going to be up and down like a yo-yo, this thing, because there's going to be certain circuits that are going to suit. We're going to Barcelona, and that's a track where fundamentally you need a lot of downforce, a lot of grip and everything else. When you look at what the Mercedes looked like today, they had a lot of straight line speed, and that seemed to benefit here, which is something that you can carry to Barcelona to a degree, but you need all that grip, especially around that turn 3 to even turn 4, and then turn sort of up to 9 as well. So there's a lot of twists going to come our way.
Crofty, one of the fans saying, I was keeping an eye on Twitter early on, and there were a few of them that said they might have been nodding off, but certainly not towards the end. It got really tense.
It did. Not every single fan was happy with that race. I'm not sure we saw a single overtake. But sometimes a goalless draw can actually be quite exciting, and it was a dramatic finish to it. Matt 12 says, Crofty, have to address my tweet before the race. Does Lewis defer now to Valtteri Bottas? Problems ahead? He keeps outpacing Lewis Hamilton. Elliot Hutchins, is it me, or did I detect a bit of frostiness between Valtteri and Kimi in the cooling down room? No, that was high celebration for the Finns. Trust me on that one. When was the last time we had all three drivers represented with the national anthems? Because, of course, we had the German national anthem for Mercedes as well. A lot of you saying, well done, Valtteri Bottas. Absolutely stoked for you. Sanjay Sethi, just one of them. He is the hashtag fun Finn for today. I remember Frank Williams talking about Valtteri Bottas when he first came into Formula One and first came to Williams, and there was a real twinkle in Sir Frank's eye. He knew he discovered a winner, and finally today we see it.
Absolutely. I mean, we had the conversation, didn't we, after Bahrain about 1 and 2 drivers. Now there's 10 points between them. We kind of thought, I think the conclusions were that it would get sorted out organically when one driver went far enough ahead of the other one. But 10 points between them now. They are going to be taking points off each other.
Put himself in the perfect position, didn't he? Got into the lead, had 2 Ferraris in the middle, you know, and drove away and won the race. That's always the thing you've got to do. Mercedes will never give him a car that's going to compromise his qualifying. They will always get them out there, get them racing. But when it comes down to nitty-gritty later in the championship, they may decide to switch positions, and I still think they'll do that. And in the long run, you'd probably still say Lewis is favourite. But he showed the last 2 weekends he's got the measure. When Lewis is having a bad day, he can be the one that's standing there and pick that win.
You know what I liked when he was with Ted, and when sort of Ted said, well, the man, he's unbeatable when he's on his day, who's obviously Lewis, and he said, no one's unbeatable. And I think that's where this positive energy is going to come from this race win. I remember it myself. The following race, you're just that much better because mentally you have this sort of new strength that comes your way. So I think that's where we're going to see a much tougher Valtteri Bottas.
Still to come, Ted's notebook. We'll also get Martin Brundle's closing thoughts on this 4th race weekend of the new season, 2017 Formula One. And today we had a first-time winner in the form of Valtteri Bottas.